Hi, and welcome to College Planning Untangled, where we help families simplify the college planning process. I'm Kristin Clark, and I'm here with Bobby Hood. And today we're talking about all things having to do with your freshman is miserable in college.
Oh man, yeah. So not a very exciting subject, but yeah, let's dive into it.
Yeah, and it's really kind of one of those that becomes scary, Bobby, because when you're sitting on the other end of 3 hours down the road or 8 hours down the road, this is scary for a parent.
Yeah, and I think this can happen. Like you feel like for the first few weeks, your kid is responsive and talking to you, and then suddenly they kind of go dark, and then you finally get them to admit what's going on, and they just say, "I'm miserable," but you don't know why, right?
Right. And I think really the first thing for parents, and by the way, I've been through this a couple of times, and obviously with you and I, with working with high school and college students, we get this, right? We understand what these kids are going through because a lot of times
Oh,
they'll
sure.
open up to us as well and tell us what's happening.
Hmm. Yeah,
So, the very first thing I'd tell parents having gone through this is just figure out why. Get your kid to the point where either get eyeballs on them
yeah.
or get on the phone and just kind of dig in. And typically, Bobby, here are the three things that I see, and you can tell me
Hmm.
if you agree with this. Um, the first thing is friends. Making friends
Oh,
is
sure.
the toughest part. We've got grades that they're not doing as well as they thought they should. And
Mhm.
the third thing is they don't like their classes. So,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think that's really common. I mean, it's just sort of like you like when you dig into it, I think that's where you're going to get, right? Because it could just be it just doesn't feel right. I don't know why I'm here, like what is this, and or it doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel, but it's like maybe they don't know how to study, maybe they aren't then they're not doing well in classes, maybe it's because they don't like their classes, they don't like their professors or something like that. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but let's dig into each of these
Yeah.
individually. So, the first thing is I'm not making friends.
Right.
And the hard part is, Bobby, I think before kids go off to college, we tell them how awesome it's
Mhm.
going to be because we
Right.
remember the end of college, not the beginning of college.
Mhm.
And the beginning
Yeah.
of college is hard. So, the
Mhm.
very first thing that for kids that do not make friends right away, um, I'm hearing the statistic. I have not been able to kind of prove this one out, but I'm hearing the statistic that about 40% of of college freshmen don't get out of their dorm room as much as they need to. All
Mhm.
right, guys, you
Yeah.
can't meet friends if these kids do not get out of their dorm room.
Right.
So, and it's kind of one of those things where you have to give and ask people before you can take, or people are going to start asking you. And I know you're like, well, we've got all these kids in these dorms. Why
Mhm.
are they not asking each other? Because they're all
Yeah.
afraid, they're all
Yeah.
afraid of the no. So if friends is an issue, like I know a good
Mhm.
friend of mine, her daughter didn't join a sorority,
Mhm.
and all the people that she quote unquote knows from her hometown did.
Yep. Yeah. See, that'll make it really hard. And yeah, and if you're not, part of the Greek system, which like, you know, like it just means you have to like make more effort, right? To find, friends. You instead of having this, like
The
group of
built-in.
people that are that
Yeah.
that have certain similarities to you or whatever. But like and also people don't make friends in the same ways, right? And so like going to the organized like freshman mixer or whatever thing, that's not going to work for everybody. For the outgoing people, sure, right? But for the quiet people, that's not necessarily the way that works. And so it kind of surprised me. I remember in college finding out that it's the place where you actually meet your friends isn't at those kinds of things. It's when you're literally just walking through campus and standing there and someone just happens to ask you a question about where a building is and then suddenly you start talking or you've been walking to class 100 times and you notice that someone's always walking the same way and you finally start talking to them or something. Like that's how quieter students can.
And Bobby, you're hitting the nail on the head here too. It's being consistent about where you're going.
Mhm.
So, one of the things that I've seen in the past is make sure that you have a schedule and
Mhm.
places consistently. So it might be that on Thursdays from, you know, I was going to say 8 in the morning, but I know better. Let's say noon till 4. You hang out in the same place in the library. You're going to start seeing the same type of people. On a certain day, you go to the rec center and you maybe do the pickup game of basketball or whatever those things are. Get a consistent schedule and you're going to start meeting people. Okay. So for moms and dads out there, here are some of the recommendations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would also say, Bobby, you know, I tell this trick and it works every time. And that's the sticky note thing where you take a sticky note, you and your roommate, right? Hey, meet us at 7 o'clock on Friday night. We're all going to a movie. You go and you put that little sticky note on everybody's door in your dorm floor. And if people show up, awesome. If nobody shows up, no harm, no foul. Nobody had to tell you no to your face, but it's a great way for people to kind of go, oh, that sounds like fun. I'll do that. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing too is, you know, we always say it too, but students may be surprised that there are way more clubs to join in college than there were in high school. And so if you actually go and look for the list of clubs to join, you may discover that there are clubs that you didn't know existed that are totally the kinds of interests you have, like a board gaming club or a going out and hiking club or whatever it is, you know. So.
I'll tell you, my oldest son, he had a challenge, kind of feeling like he was fitting in. He did a couple of those overnight trips by himself. By the way, he signed up on his own, which I thought was hugely like a big deal, right? That he actually did it. But he was ready. He needed those friendships, and he met, you know, all it took was meeting one person on those trips, and he did great. But, and, you know, parents, I want you to make sure that you don't go down this path of letting these kids quit right away. I know it's hard. It sucks. Quite frankly, it's hard, but making sure that you're giving them all these options and helping them to follow through on them. I'll give you one more trick for the friend thing, and then we'll move on to number 2. And that is have them put, and I go back to sticky notes, have them put 2, 3, 4, 5 sticky notes somewhere on their mirror or someplace. And every time they actually have a conversation with somebody, they can take a sticky note down for that week. But every week, they get a certain number of people that they've talked to that they haven't talked to before.
Oh, that's really cool. I've never heard that before. I love that.
It keeps you accountable.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So what's the next thing?
The next thing is grades. They tell you, they're like, Mom, I did really bad on, you know, my first test and I feel terrible and I don't know what to do. Well, to me, Bobby, that one's a little bit more simple because you have people that you can reach out to. You can go to the office hours for your professor, right? You can go, every college these days have free tutors.
Absolutely. Free tutoring, free homework help. Absolutely. And that's where you go. And yeah, absolutely. It's just there. Just go use it. Right. You don't have to do everything yourself.
And I'd also tell you, this is a time management issue too, I believe, in college, because nobody's forcing you to do anything and it's easy to piddle away your day. Right. And you're going to start to see all of these things interweave, because if you go to the, you know, library for 4 hours on Mondays or Thursdays, whatever day we said, that's a great way to meet people. It's also a great way to keep you accountable for studying and doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll also run into other students who are pretending they never do any homework, or that they never go to class, or actually never doing any homework and going to class and seeming like they're successful. But not everybody can do that. And not everybody's telling the truth when they do that. Maybe talk to some older students about like, okay, what kind of schedule did you have? Right. You know, like, you know, when did you do your studying? Stuff like that. Right.
Yeah.
Know that people will mislead you. Right. And you do need to actually, you know, study and go to class and do homework and all that to be successful.
And here's another one. Ask the kid next to you that you see that they might not have gotten the best grade either, and go, hey, you want to study together?
Absolutely.
Another great way to make friends, right?
Exactly.
And I'm going to give you one other one on time management, and that is and this sounds counterintuitive, but have your kid get a job on campus somewhere. They're going to meet people that way. They're going to have better time management. And all the studies say about 15 hours of work actually improve their grades, because they have to have a schedule. Okay?
Yeah, you can't do more than that. But weirdly, that schedule will change everything. Yep.
Yes. And then the third thing that you're going to probably hear from your kids that why they're unhappy is they don't like their classes.
Yeah. Absolutely, especially because you have to pick a major and you don't know what your major's going to be if they haven't worked with you, or you may have picked your major, but you're having to take all these generic, gigantic classes that everybody takes, and you feel
Yeah,
lost
and when
because
you're
they're
taking
large
those
classes.
classes, sometimes
Yeah,
you can feel like, you are just caught up. You're gonna, but we've totally blanked out there, Bobby.
yeah,
But
right,
yeah, so when you're taking those big classes, sometimes too, you just feel like you're in this mass of nothingness. But
right.
it's. But here's the thing that I would tell you, Bobby.
Mhm,
If they're not liking their classes, it could be that they're not, connecting with what they are majoring in.
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
I hear a lot of the kids tell me, my clients, that, I'm just not connecting. I don't feel like I know why I'm here.
right.
And if they don't know why they're at college, it makes it really hard for them to go, wow, yeah, let me get totally involved. So
Yeah,
by thinking about career path, thinking about the things that are truly going to interest them, and they have a goal as to, hey, why am I here for the next 4, 5, 6 years?
right.
Um, that's going to help as well.
Absolutely. I mean, so that's a good time. Like, it's never too late for a student to work with you and figure out what their strengths are, figure out whether they're in the right major, figure out, because even if they are in the right major, once they realize why they care about this, because what careers and what strengths it builds toward, then suddenly they may suddenly be interested in why they're doing it.
It
So
matters,
that's
right?
always easy to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it grounds them. And I can't stress that enough. It grounds them to go, I'm going to stick this out because I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
so I mean, if you don't do these things, you can end up with the conversation where the student is saying, "I want to leave, I want to quit," right? And that's what we'll talk about next week. So kind of leading into that discussion of like, what do you do if your student is already at that point, right? But if you do these things that we're talking about, that's what can help turn things around, right here early in the semester when there's still time.
Absolutely. All
All
right,
right,
Bobby.
that's great. Talk to you
We,
next week.
all right.
All right.